A lot of games have good story beats, and they make you think back to them quite a bit. The one that I think about a lot is probably from Modern Warfare 2, 2009. You know, just kind of sticks in the back of your head.
Good. That's one less loose end. No!
It was insanely shocking, and it kind of just threw me off. Tugged at the heartstrings a little, you know. But is the story of, Modern Warfare 2, like, good overall? I mean, yeah, for the most part, yes, it is. But it's not what I'm arguing about. It's not what I'm arguing. What I'm talking about, what makes a good game story? Like, overall, what makes it good? So, one of the games that I was thinking about when I was writing this script was Castle Crashers. It's got a pretty basic, plot. Not a lot going on there. It's the classic save the princess from the castle. And one of the biggest things about that, though, is it kind of takes a spin on that, where it makes it a little more whimsical and goofy. Because once you beat that first boss and you're the princess is there and you got to save her, it's I'm going to get that kiss. Nothing is going to stop me. Nothing is going to stop. This is a gameplay aspect that helps the setting of the game stay coherent with the overall what they're going for, Because with it being the way it is, you're able to kind of understand what they're going for, and it kind of keeps that concept for a story kind of, new and fresh. But is it a good story for a game? It's not a good story, to be honest. Castle Crash is not a good story, but it's a good game because they use the story in a way to push forward the narrative that they want, and it works well. It's a thing that is recurring. Dragon Age Veilguard recently came out, is a perfect example of what not to do. If you're making a role-playing game, you want your characters to be more than a one-dimensional plywood. It's so bad. But, if I have to listen to the same character for 50 hours say the same thing over and over again, if it's not the funniest thing I've ever heard, I'm going to lose it. On the other hand, you have Baldur's Gate 3. They did a very good job with their characters, because the biggest difference between what their characters do and the ones in Dragon Age do is that there's more depth to the characters. It's not just, oh, I am me and this is me, and like there's no, you can't like put them in their place or anything. Like there's actual character development. Like my favorite character, Shadowheart. You can't convince me otherwise. She's the best character, and I will fight you on that. She's a really good example because there's some mystery to her initially, and as you move on in the story, you see more of her depth with the character, because she initially starts out as harsh and a little distrusting of everyone, and then you kind of see why, because of the trauma that comes with being a cleric of the god Shar. And you are able to see a lot of that character development. And depending on how you play the game, you can either have her double down on her traumas and keep with the god Shar, or you can help her move past that, which is a really great story beat, and I really appreciate that. It's very well done. But if you're gonna have a character with like it's one-dimensional, which you can, it's very doable, but the game has to be fast-paced and shouldn't be longer than 8 to 10 hours, honestly. Call of Duty's characters aren't super deep, or they don't have a lot of depth, but the game doesn't take you 50 fucking hours to do. For a story-rich game, which of the two is better? A giant text wall that you've seen in Star Wars, just kind of scrolling along. You're trying to read it, it's moving a mile a minute, and you pick up maybe a third of what they're trying to push through that to set up the game or the movie. Or is this better. I think the subspace emissary was a blessing from Lord Masahiro Surukai himself. A fantastic piece of genius. But no, I'd rather have, me personally, something that invokes emotion a lot easier. So using music and imagery compared to showing me a text wall. That can be kind of similar. You know, if you have an opening cutscene and it's someone talking for, 5 minutes about the setting, not as impactful as it could be showing. You can talk still. Again, one of my biggest gripes when it comes to show and tell is people are always like, you got to show and not tell the player. And it's like, yes, that's true. You should show them, not just tell them. But you can still tell the players things. It just has to make sense organically in the setting, So like with Dead Space, how they had the hallucinations and they had, media for like ads and stuff in the game, where they were like, hey, here's this, or like with Doom Eternal, where they have like the PA system that kind of like led to some of the world building for that. It was really good because it was organic to the setting. It was organic to the game. Whereas if you just have an NPC following you for 7 minutes saying, well, have you been to Ravenwood? Ravenwood is a very fantastic place. Let me tell you about everything that's in Ravenwood. I don't care about Ravenwood. I'm walking to, Whiterun. Who cares? I don't care. If you show me that something happened, like with Helgen, with the opening to Skyrim, I think that one's fantastic as well, because they do ramble a little bit at the beginning on the cart ride. That could be a little shorter. Iconic, though. Iconic. It could be a little shorter. But they do a really good job showing the player, because while you're getting dialogue while you're running away from Alduin, you're also interacting with the game. You're hearing information while you're running. A very good introduction, and I think that's why it's with the Elder Scrolls games, one of the most popular ones, because Oblivion and Morrowind were okay. Oblivion, they also did a really good. I think Oblivion is one of the better ones. If we're talking about opening scenes of those three mainly, I would say Oblivion has the best opening, just because it's a lot quicker. You're still interacting with the game, you're still moving and doing stuff, but you're hearing dialogue, but you're also like seeing the Emperor assassinated right in front of you. It's pretty impactful, and it helps develop the story. I think that's what I want to say about that. Yeah, I have so many gripes about that. Oh my goodness. I absolutely hate it. Because they're like, show not tell. It's like, well, you can tell still. You just make it organic. Like, make it make sense. You can tell people things that make sense. Like, if it's something the player doesn't know, find a way to tell them that's organic to the story. Like, Mass Effect 3, they did a good job with that. Or the Mass Effect series, they had the news bulletins where, like, they were like, you're walking through the Citadel, and then they're just like, oh, hey, this is on the news, and you're like, whoa, really, that's happening? That's crazy. Themes and messaging is a weird one, because themes is very similar to your setting. They kind of tie hand in hand, but it is different, obviously. You can have different themes. Like, the setting can be very similar to another setting. Like, oh, let's say we're playing Dungeons & Dragons. We're playing in a fantasy world that is an archipelago, and you can be like, okay, there's a million things you can do that, but the theme is, for the plot is, it's a lot more grungy because necromancers have taken over the islands. You're like, whoa, that's pretty cool, man. Using themes to push messages has to be used very delicately, subtly even. You got to introduce the players to what you want them to feel in certain events of the game. You don't just jam it down my throat, you stupid freaking fail. Don't force the players to feel one specific way about a message that you're pushing. And even then, don't even push the message. Just have it there, Because most of the time when players are doing role-playing games, they're not playing themselves. They're not trying to be, them. I mean, some people do. I have before playing yourself in a game, and it's fun. But a lot of the times when players are playing games, they try to act in a way that they wouldn't normally do it. So like with Baldur's Gate 3, for instance, I was a freaking psychopath, just murdering people left and right for my first playthrough. There's a lot of bodies. But your messaging and themes should fit the setting that you're doing, right? So if you're trying to, push messaging about how you have, I don't know, like more, like there's slavery, which is a bad thing. Not saying it's a good thing, but if you're trying to abolish slavery, maybe you should have it in a setting that doesn't have it as like a core tenet of the setting, Like if I'm playing a Dark Sun campaign in Dungeons & Dragons, the world that is completely covered in sand and everything sucks, and the only people having a good time are the Sorcerer Kings, and there's like 7 of them, and everybody else is having a bad time. It's a messed up world. Freaking Gladiator. It's a great movie. It's him trying to, save the gladiators who were slaves with him. Well, toward the end it is anyway. But he's saving the slaves. But he's not trying to change that policy. He's not like, no more slaves. He's like, these guys, they're helping me out. They're cool dudes. Let's spring out of here. But they died. It's crazy. But that's what I'm saying. Don't try to push a message that doesn't make sense organically to the story. If you set up your plot and your themes to make it work that way, by all means, send it. Do it. They do a really good job with that. It's an author that I love reading, Brandon Sanderson, with his Mistborn trilogy. They do a really good job of overthrowing, an oppressive regime that basically practices slavery. The female character, what is her name? I haven't read the book in like 7 years. What's the name? You're setting up a game that's going to be in like ancient Rome. You're probably not going to have like a Japanese peasant, there. It'd be kind of, not happening kind of thing. Like, oh, I'm gonna, like let me play a game. It's gonna be the Mongols, and they're gonna be raiding and pillaging and doing all their stuff that the Mongols did. Oh, but the main character is going to be this Native American guy from the Shoshone tribe from Utah, and you're like, but why is he here? Like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit the setting, the theme. Like, it doesn't fit. But yeah, probably one of the games that recently has come out that's did a really good job of keeping the plot and the themes of the story very close to their original conception, and it did a very good job, is Space Marine 2. Space Marine 2 is a good game, but they do a really good job of keeping the language that they use and the design that they use and the themes that they use to be very consistent with Space Marine 2. Like, you're not going to have like a dreadnought busting through a wall with a gritty. Like, that would be hilarious. But it wouldn't work because it doesn't fit. Like, you can't use language that doesn't fit the themes of the story. Like, you can't have can't be watching like Lord of the Rings and like Gimli walks up and is like, "Y'all, my dude, where them hobbits at?" Like, he's not gonna say that because it doesn't fit the language that Tolkien crafted around his world. Oh, sorry, the edit with they're taking the hobbits to Isengard popped in my head. I'm old. My back hurts. I shouldn't be sitting like this. This does not help my back. No, it doesn't. But all in all, this is my unfiltered dog shit opinions. If you like watching, I guess you can leave a like. I'd appreciate that. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, let me know. If If you have any ideas what I should do next, I have some thoughts floating around in my head and what I should do in the video about next. But if you have any ideas that you want me to talk about, let me know. Specific games, specific themes, plots, ideas. I mean, again, this is just a very base, like what a good game story is. You know, it's not like the in-depth 16-hour edition, because I'm not going to sit in front of a camera for 16 hours and talk about it. I got to eat. Food is delicious. I'm about to go make some ramen. I do not eat enough. Maybe I should make something other than ramen. That 10 cents ramen. But it's so good. It's so delicious. But yeah, if comments, questions, concerns, let me know. And feel free to suggest anything. My brain is inconsistent. I am rambling right now. If you didn't notice, I've been off script for the last 4 minutes of this whole video. I wrote a script and I followed like a third of it because I like rambling. It's my favorite thing to do. I love it. Anyone who tells you rambling is bad is part of a global conspiracy to stop us ramblers. I don't know what they're stopping us from doing, but it's out there. They're in the walls. They're in the walls. They're in the walls.